Good evening and welcome to Africa News Network First Fast Live. My name is Cindy Mabi. Good to have you. Our top story at 6:30 Central African Time. HIV/AIDS and gender activist Prudence Mabele's funeral service was held at Grace Bible Church in Johannesburg earlier today. Mabele is co-founder and executive director of Positive Women's Network. She succumbed to pneumonia at the age of 46. Mabele broke ground in 1992 for publicly revealing her HIV positive status.
Mabele passed on after a long battle with pneumonia. She is remembered as a hero by politicians and fellow activists alike.
We must at the same time celebrate her life that made such a profound difference in the lives of so many people. We celebrate the life of a person through her activism, through her passion, through her compassion, her commitment, her defiance, and that has left an indelible mark on all of us.
When Prudence was fighting, she wasn't just fighting her body, which was giving up. She was also being attacked from the inside by people she loved. Prudence was a woman of truth. We can all go on and tell you, but until you met proof, you haven't met proof, you didn't meet proof, you would not know this.
Mabele, who was diagnosed with HIV well over 2 decades ago, will be remembered as a much-needed voice for the voiceless.
You were an activist, a warrior woman, a woman in a line of activists, many of whom have passed, some of whom are still larger than life, like you.
During our time as friends, Prudence, we shared quite a lot of things. Prudence she's just a loving person. She's fearless, as many people have said.
Described as a fearless woman, a lady who called a spade, especially to those who prolong processes to access to HIV and AIDS treatment, she will be remembered for fighting injustice for HIV and AIDS patients. Lala ngoxolo nobantu Mabele, Mabele Ntshingila, Sphepho saMabele, Mfazi Mabele Made, uncelisa ingane ngaphesheya komfula. Lala ngoxolo Mashiya Mahle. For ANN7, Nobesuthu Ejana, Johannesburg.
And joining us on the line, Andrew Musana is board member for the Treatment Action Campaign. Andrew, thanks so much for your time. Good evening to you and our condolences to the Mabele family and your organization. Just in terms of Prudence coming out in 1992, that was really the height of the stigmatization of people living with HIV. It's really been a long and hard journey for her, but yet she held steadfast, knowing that her cause was that to have access, or rather to fight for those that are voiceless.
Thank you, Cindy. Good evening, and good evening to your viewers. Today marks a very sad day to AIDS activists like myself, but however, we were celebrating Prudence life. Today we showed the world that the woman who led disclosure processes in South Africa fighting against HIV was laid to rest, but she was the most brave and brilliant woman who came out in 1992 when nobody knew about AIDS. Nobody was interested in AIDS, but Prudence came out and told the world that I'm living with HIV and I'm here and I'm not contagious nor infectious. The only thing that she wanted to know was how to protect herself from infecting others and how she lived her life positively. So.
Yeah, and how would you say that particular stance impacted other people's lives? Because as you say, at that time it was a new phenomenon and a lot of untruths were told about it and stigma primarily. How did her position impact victims, or rather people living with HIV?
Then, Cindy, there was nothing. It was only the doctors, your scientists, your researchers who knew about what is HIV, what causes this virus, and what will be the outcomes of one if there are no ARV interventions. However, Prudence and other activists like your Mackay Woods, your Zaki Ahmad, your Sipon Pati, your Linda Mafu managed to interact with the international civil society communities, where we had friendship with the iBase, which is a UK-based organization, where they've managed to come to South Africa and teach activists, lay community people the science behind HIV. So Prudence, as a lead woman in this fight against HIV, she made sure that as late as she was, community members need to understand how HIV is dealt with and what it does in your body, including the treatment literacy program that is seeing nationwide unfolding from the civil society organization. She managed to champion the information, the knowledge, the science behind the HIV to come to the communities so that people cannot succumb to HIV.
Yeah, and it just during her struggles as well, because hers was a multi-pronged battle, that of being an HIV and gender activist, and in a community that still protects and promotes patriarchy, the voice of women, and especially homosexual communities, etc. How difficult was it for her, Andrew?
Prudence, she's feminist, and she knew what she wanted. She had to start with the people she was voicing her concerns to, those being women. She started by educating women. She led a group of fundamental experienced today women by educating them treatment literacy on the life cycle of HIV. It was hard. It was a challenge for her, but she managed through her community leadership. She mobilized, she educated, and she advocated at the same time amongst these young women who were there with her from the beginning. And they've managed to pull a huge crowd of women who were living with HIV, who didn't understand what is this killing them. But she won at the ultimate end, because we can see the likes of your Nonkosi Kumalo, your Vuite Katupula, your Rukia Cornelis, your Linda Mafu. These women were in the front assisting Prudence in making sure that HIV is known in our communities and people understand the science behind it, and they wanted to win the struggle against HIV. That's why Prudence was one of the women who applied in the Constitutional Court to tackle our government around the PMTCT case that we held in the olden days during the AIDS denialism era.
Yeah, but her struggle was also not without disappointment. Mark Haywood, the co-founder of TAC, talking about how she complained about people backstabbing her and the betrayal in the community in itself. While you have the socio-economic issues you're fighting, there's also those that may be opposed to what it is that you're trying to do. How did you overcome that?
Cindy, whether you do good or you do bad, there is going to be negativity in your community. We won't stop the labeling. People will still label us as people who are spreading HIV because you are outspoken about your HIV status. You will be named names. Prudence made sure that she held her head up high because her family supported her throughout the way, since she informed them that I'm going to disclose my HIV status. So I need your support, I need your love, I need your caring. And there was community members within Wattville who actually knew Prudence as a child, who supported her along the way. She succumbed everything. She managed to get a breakthrough in making sure that these people understand what is eating me. She made them aware, like Nkosi did at the International AIDS Conference in 2000, that he's still a child. He's not infectious, but he's only living with HIV.
Andrew, please stay on the line. That's Andrew Musana. He is a board member of the Treatment Action Campaign, and joining us on the line is Griselda Dudumashe, media personality and wellness activist. Good evening to you, and thanks so much for joining us. Our condolences to the Mabele and family and you, my friend. I'm sure this is a very difficult time for you, considering the path that you have walked personally in dealing with AIDS, HIV awareness, and creating a culture of looking after yourself if you're living with the condition.
Good evening, and thank you very much, Cindy, for the invitation. Indeed, a difficult time for all of us who are in the activism space. And I mean, you look at a person like Prudence Mabele, she knew everything that was out there for people to look after themselves. But like any doctor, most of the doctors, it's very difficult. There's a saying, Yesintu, that Tinyanga is lapi, that as doctors, it's very difficult to take care of ourselves. I mean, truth be told, that trip to Switzerland for a person with immune deficiency and for a person who was ill at the time could have sped up her fall on HIV-related illness because the pneumonia, all of us know that this one is connected to the climate in Switzerland. And I'm assuming that she was not adequately packed for that climate. And it just speaks to all of us that when you are fighting an immune deficiency causing condition, you need to constantly be aware of your surroundings. You need to be constantly aware of your own circumstances, your own challenges. But, you know, to the person that Prudence was, it was almost about other people more than it was about herself. That even in her weakness, even in her time when she was ill, she still went to just seek funding so that she can continue the advocacy, continue creating the awareness, continue teaching. And indeed, her legacy lives on. She has run a good race indeed.
All right, please stay with us. We do have a caller, Ibrahim in Cape Town. Good evening to you.
Good evening, dear sister. And let me just first say I'm really, really encouraged by the work that you do at your station and keep doing good work in the cause of black people. Let me just say something about Prudence. I was fortunate to share a platform with her in 2006 at an HIV/AIDS conference that I organized at NEDLAC. It was actually a workshop. And I was really, really impressed by the passionate way in which she talked about the concerns of people living with HIV and AIDS, but not just that, with about the concerns of women and other vulnerable groups in general. She spoke with tears in her eyes, and she really caught and had an immediate impact on my activism. I, subsequent to that meeting, went to her place a few times where I got valuable advice about HIV activism. So I can say without any contradiction that this country will indefinitely be poorer. I mean, without her, she has ran a good race. She has made an indelible contribution to the cause of people living with HIV and AIDS and the women's movement in general. So I do hope that we as HIV activists in this country will do whatever we can to sustain the legacy and the good work that she has done. Thank you, Cindy.
All right, thank you so much for the commiserations, Ibrahim, paying tribute to Prudence Mabele, who today was laid to rest. An HIV and gender activist, Andrew Musana, is board member for the Treatment Action Campaign. Just your reaction, Andrew, in how we celebrate pioneers and trailblazers, those that at the most difficult of times will put their own lives on the line to send a particular message, to stand tall, to ensure that the world is aware of what is going on without necessarily others, being victimized because of what they stand for.
Was that question for me, Cindy?
Yes.
Look, Prudence made herself known internationally. There was no way that we would bury Prudence on the same week that he passed on. He made a mark for himself. Prudence in one of the Olympic marathon. She was one of the torchbearers for the Olympics. She made herself known because she was vocal, she was active, she was outspoken, she was there when you needed a woman who is responsible for women issues, for gender-based violence. Prudence was the co-chair of the Positive Living. It was a pre-conference organized by the Global Network of people living with HIV. She co-chaired it before the International AIDS Conference came back in 2016 in Africa. Prudence co-chaired Women Now conference, which we're calling all women globally to come together and speak as one with the same voice. Prudence, she's the president of the global network of people living with HIV. There was no way that the world doesn't know about her. That's why the deputy president of the country and the office of the Minister of Health decided to honor Prudence by being part of her memorial, including the funeral itself.
We really appreciate your time, Andrew Musana, and we still have Griselda Dudumashe, a media personality and a wellness activist, joining us on the line. Griselda, just in the, appreciating the struggle and the necessity to have stalwarts and heroines as we had in Prudence, the message that they spoke about, how much better or more can we do to continue on this legacy?
I think one of the things I appreciate, Cindy, about our government is that they, acknowledge that Prudence had an indelible mark in the struggle against HIV and AIDS, and her contribution necessitated that she gets buried at the Heroes Ark. That, for me, is an indication that the country, took a stand, acknowledged that indeed a good soldier has fallen. And I guess as a message to many people who follow in her footsteps and how we can uphold her legacy is for us to continue the education. As you know, as you did mention that I'm a media personality, one of my passions is educating about wellness, and HIV being one of them. And every day we deal with people who still believe that HIV can never, affect them, affect or infect them. We still have challenges of getting people to personalize the risk. And that says to me the struggle continues in upholding and ensuring that her legacy lives on. We need to take off where she left. And I mean, Prudence was very passionate about developing young women in this country. She was very passionate about, ensuring that people's rights are respected, especially women's rights are respected. We look at our country right now, women and children live in fear. And it can be that we take a stand. For those who have walked the journey with Prudence, I guess it's a challenge that as a man, why are you silent when people in your community, when children and women are abused and violated? I think as we pay tribute, as we acknowledge and honor her, we need to take up arms as in holding hands, not necessarily being violent, but speaking up against these injustices and all these ills that are happening in our society. We talk about it takes a village to raise a child. I mean, Prudence did not give birth biologically to any children, but she's mothered so many children in our communities, and we can take a leaf out of a soldier like Prudence.
Griselda, thanks so much indeed for your time. Griselda Dudumashe, media personality and wellness activist, joining us on via Outside Broadcast, and Andrew Musana, board member of the TAC, the Treatment Action Campaign. Javo Baloyi, as Commission for Gender Equality. Good evening to you, and thanks so much for joining us. How do we mitigate the risk-enhancing cultural practices that still prevail, especially when it comes to prevention of HIV/AIDS?
What we need to do is to continue from where Prudence has left, may her soul rest in peace, is to ensure that, we educate society, we up our game, we work together as a collective, work closely with SANEC, work with Chapter 9 Association. We go to the grassroots, to the deep down rural areas. That's how we can win the war. And we go to universities and also ensure that these kids, when they get freedom for the first time, that they're not reckless with their life, and ensure that, whatever right they have, it comes with freedom. Those are some of the things that we can do in honoring Prudence memory, because she has done so much, and she has put us on the map in South Africa. And also ensure that, we educate the boy child also, insofar as condomizing, insofar as, ensuring that, the maleness is not about the strength that he possesses, and ensuring that, we work closely with the taxi industry, work with the police, we sensitize them, let the police and the prosecution authority understand that, there are systematic issues that are there so far as ensuring that, we deal with the scourge, and also those that, are perpetrators of gender-based violence and rape issues are dealt with accordingly. accordingly, then we'll have won the game.
Yeah, but what practical measures are there, especially when you deal with what has been termed corrective rape for people that have different sexual orientation, and in a country where we uphold the Constitution, there's still high levels of intolerance and stigmatization?
It boils down to understanding that, we're not born the same way, and also understanding the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. That's one aspect that people do not understand. And also, the practical ways is to send a very strong message when perpetrators of those are coming with terms like corrective rape, that, I want to make sure that, you understand that, you're not a lesbian or you're not a gay, stuff like those. We send a strong message through our courts. The courts shouldn't be seen, they just be heard. They cannot be heard only, but justice should be seen by every ordinary South African, that those people who died, that justice should be served on them. People like Noma Gwaza, people like Youth Simelani, and many more that have died because of people thinking that, raping someone else, will correct them. Justice should be served in a very harshest way, that tomorrow kids will be safe in our street.
All right, let's take a call, Nolkanya in the Eastern Cape, and we'll come to you, Lulama, in Joburg second. Hello, Nolkanya. Good evening to you.
Hello.
Nolkanya ninjani?
It's Melikaya Cindy.
Oh, Melikaya, uqolo bhuti wami ninjani?
No, that's right. Let us salute Prudence and all the activists that are involved there. I'm echoing the sentiments that have been raised by Mrs. Tutumashe there. If we take into account the role that has been played by the Deputy President of the country to personally attend the funeral and bid farewell to such an activist of the healthcare industry, to say, just go to the people in the rural areas, provide them with therapy, provide with them with support, provide with them with grants where it is needed. We want to see to that this legacy of such a wonderful woman who has worked very well for this country is not going to be erased. His name must be there in the walls of parliament, in the walls of hospitals, to say this was a woman of color, this was a woman of courage, this was a woman of the moment. Let us not forget such people. Let us always salute Prudence. And I want to say she has followed her own name to say Nobantu. That is an African name for her, and that is kept people going. Let us salute, let us continue to say, we want such a woman who stood the ground, even when the forces that are there do not always agree or allude to what he's got to say.
Yeah,
but now, we are together today, he's given a very send-off, especially the attendance of the Deputy President to be there, not to send a delegation on his behalf.
But just we're going to have to keep it there. Enkosi kakhulu Melkhaya in the Eastern Cape. Lulama in Johannesburg, good evening to you. Hi, Lulama. All right, I can hear feedback there, Lulama. I'm afraid we're going to have to let you go. But just, Mr. Baloyi, I was asking about practical measures that can be used. Lulama, are you there? Hi, Lulama. Okay.
Hello.
Hi, there you are. Good evening.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
I can speak.
Yes, please go ahead.
I just wanted to pass my gratitude to Prudence, having worked with her all my life in the human rights, in women's rights, gender activist, and also just to echo many people who have spoken for her, and just to say that she was very courageous, a torchbearer, totally passionate about women's rights and gender rights, and also just for her in many times, difficult times, we have always counted on Prudence to be courageous and say something. I just wanted to pass my gratitude to her.
Nkosi kakhulu, thanks so much, and our condolences to you. Mr. Baloyi, in terms of how we uphold, or rather the legacy of the likes of Prudence Mabele, what message do you give to communities, to people having a healthy and safe environment to disclose their status, to be nurtured, to be loved, to be accepted as any other person?
What we will say as a Commission for Gender Equality is to say, let's go back to the principle of Ubuntu. Let's have a caring society wherein we roll out every instrument, rape kit, we roll out, testing centers throughout the country in honoring prudence. And also ensuring that, we have got a caring health practitioners, that they are receptive to people who are coming there. They don't mock them, they accept them, they embrace them. That will be what prudence will have died for. That's what the Deputy President of the country and Dr. Aaron Mutharedi today they've said at the funeral of prudence that, if we can, they are trying their best, that they have the 90-10 principle, that by 2020 and 2030, they want to eliminate the scourge. And also, society shouldn't vilify people who are HIV positive. They should embrace them. Prudence came out in 1991, all the challenges, she has been betrayed, but she stood strong and ensured that, you and I today, that, the future of South Africa can be better as it was before it was yesterday.
All right, we really appreciate your time, Mr. Javu Baloyi. He is Commission for Gender Equality. Griselda Tutumashe, media personality and wellness activist, joining us via Outside Broadcast. And Andrew Musana, thank you. He's a board member for the Treatment Action Campaign. And thanks to our callers as well. We'll take a quick ad break. We'll see you shortly.